At 1:45, 60 feet under the limestone of a North Florida spring, my phone buzzed inside the dry canister clipped to my chest. No signal reaches that deep. I sealed the phone anyway, out of habit. The message came through the plastic window, clear as anything, time-stamped 1 minute ahead of my own dive computer. It was from Owen, swimming 10 feet behind me. It said, "If you find the third arrow, don't touch what's hanging above it." Mara, sending this from the motel while we still have Wi-Fi and a real roof. I got hired to survey a side passage off a spring in North Florida. A landowner found 70s county notes describing an unmapped spur and wants it documented before he sells the land. A documentary crew walked away once documented turned into full cave penetration and stage bottles. I said yes. The money's stupid, and I've never once turned down stupid money. Crew. Dean runs primary line and has zero patience. Luis handles camera and slate. Owen does gas and safety because he's the only one of us who checks his O-rings twice without being told to. The county scan has one line scribbled in the margin, decades-old handwriting, not quite a warning. 4 words, line continues beyond survey. Mara, quick one before we suit up. The spring boil is black from the surface, not tannin green, more like coffee with the light gone out of it. There's a laminated warning sign at the gate, the usual body count language, corners peeling back. Somebody pressed a dead horsefly flat into the plastic. Owen found a splice on the old jump line he doesn't trust. Wrong material, too stiff. Memory still coiled in it. He cut it out and rebuilt the whole thing before Dean could argue. We dropped in at 7:12. Visibility excellent. White limestone, a rust-colored tannin halo near the entrance. Everything textbook. At the spur, the 70s map matched for about 30 feet. Then the wall was supposed to open left. Mara, back at the trucks, needed dry hands to type this. The passage narrowed, then dropped into a vertical shaft, like something had drilled straight through the rock. Dean tied the primary line to a knob of stone and sent me first, since I'm smallest. 70 feet down, it corkscrewed into a room too big for my light to finish crossing. Fine silt on every surface. No cookie markers, no old monofilament, nothing to say anyone had surveyed it before us. 80 minutes in, Luis swept his beam across the ceiling and held it there. 4 parallel grooves, pale against the mineral stain, running along stone no diver would touch unless they were reaching up on purpose. Owen wanted to call the dive. Then Dean's light caught something wedged under a ledge, an old line arrow, pointing deeper into passage on no map we owned. Mara, typing this in the motel bathroom. The others are arguing outside. We geared up for a second dive. Owen hated it, but nobody was turning Dean around after that arrow. It was brittle bakelite, decades old, 1 notch cut into it. The exit side worn smooth from years of hands. Past it the passage turned mean, low bedding plane, silt to the ceiling, line laid half by feel because Dean wanted the video light saved. At one restriction I had to unclip my stage bottle and push it ahead of me through a gap barely wider than my shoulders. That's when the canister on my chest buzzed. No signal reaches down there, I know. We carry the phones anyway, for gas tables at the surface. I checked it at the deco stop, thinking a battery had shifted loose. One message, from Owen. He was 10 feet behind me, on my exhaust bubbles. It said, "Keep your light off the ceiling. It notices by reflections first." Mara. Owen swears he never sent it. He showed me his phone in the truck after. Powered off, dry, sealed in its case the whole dive. Same as mine should have been. Dean called it narcosis, then admitted that made no sense at our depth on our mix. Luis didn't laugh. He asked me to repeat the wording exactly, and that bothered me more than anything Dean said. We went back in anyway. Cave people are bad at walking away once a line's already run. I took point, wanting to see if there were more markers. At 1940 feet from tie-in, a second arrow, same old material, jammed in a crack. At 2100, a third. This one was tied backward, not drifted, knotted deliberately. facing into the cave, like someone deeper in had started marking the way out and changed their mind. Above it, something pale shifted in a pocket of rock and went still. A hand. The glove rotted off at the wrist. Mara. We should have left it alone. Owen was already signaling the turn when Luis swung his light up into the pocket. The hand belonged to a diver wedged head down in a crack no wider than a storm drain. Not fresh, not bone either. His suit had gone soft, the neoprene peeling in black strips off a steel tank furred with rust. Both arms were stretched over his head like he'd tried to claw farther in after he was already stuck. The fingers had worn down to bone at the tips. His faceplate was clouded from the inside. Not mineral scale. Tissue. There was no line tied to him anywhere. My canister buzzed again. Same sender. The preview filled the whole screen this time. Don't touch him. The jaws threaded through the crack. Luis reached out to check if the body was snagged. The head turned to look at us. Mara. Sending these as they happen. If I wait, I'll start editing what I saw. When Luis touched the shoulder, the neck didn't bend like a neck. It rotated, one dry quarter turn inside the rotted hood. Silt poured out of the crack around the jaw, a steady stream, like the body had been packing that gap shut and something in it had just let go. Then the rock above the arrow slumped. Not enough to crush us. Worse, a slow, soft spill of powder that swallowed the line ahead of my mask and turned the water to milk. Dean grabbed for the guideline and came back with a loose end in his fist. No tension, no direction, just braided nylon drifting free in current that shouldn't have existed at all. Somebody was breathing too fast through their regulator. I thought it was Luis until I felt my own chest doing it. Then a hand closed around my wrist from above the line. Cold glove, hard grip. Owen's voice, warped through his mask, said, "Don't kick." Owen was behind me. I could see his light behind me. Mara. If these arrive out of order, trust the timestamps, not the order they land in. I'm in the parking lot. I think I am. Dean's tailgate is down. One fin lies in the gravel. Something bled onto the truck's rubber mat and dried into small black commas. I don't remember surfacing cleanly. I remember following a line that felt older than ours, braided differently, while a second light paced me somewhere above in the rock. Once my mask brushed fabric hanging loose in the water. It dragged across the glass like wet paper. I got out alone. Owen's phone sits on the bench beside me, powered off, water still beating on the case, though it never touched water tonight. Dean and Luis aren't answering when I shout toward the spring mouth. I can hear something surfacing down there anyway. Every few seconds, small and patient. My phone is buzzing again. 3 messages from Owen, time-stamped 1 minute ahead of now. First, don't go back in when you hear me calling. Second, Dean already did. The third just landed. A photo, dark, grainy, underwater. It shows the back of my own tank, my own helmet light. Whoever took it was right behind me.